as we get ready to, start, we just open up with prayer and humble ourselves and clear our minds and focus on the kingdom and the throne room and the glory and all things um, wonderful, which is our Elohim. We just say Todah Rabah Yah for blessing us to see another day, for bringing us to this point healthy and whole and sustaining us in our daily and our yearly and our weekly, for always making a way for us and our families, Father. We thank you for giving us the understanding of your word and allowing us to begin to understand, I should say, to grasp the things that you are teaching us and showing us and leading us into, Father Yah. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, we give you all honor, glory, and praise in all things, Father. And we know that in his name, the Messiah that you chose to send to reestablish our connection with you, Father Yah, that all things are possible. And we just ask that you continue to work with the Stone family as far as Patrick Sr., a good man who's just lost in some things, Father Yah. I pray that you, if it be your holy will, that you open up his heart to be receptive to righteous counsel from his son, and that you put the words in his son's mouth to speak a righteous word to his father. I pray the same for my own father, that as we try to make some headwind with him as well, I'll be out that if it be your holy will, that you restore his faith and help him to come back into your understanding, Father, and to lean on you again. And that any conversations with his children, that you guide our words, that you humble us and help us to stay meek and show humility. And that you just put the words in our mouths to speak a word, a profitable word, and not nothing to go amiss. I pray for Ak DJ and his family, Father, that you whatever needs to be done in his family, that you mend all fences, Father Yah, and that you make all crooked paths straight. That you help his brother that you put the words in his brother's mouth and open his heart to understand further your Torah, so that he can speak a righteous word to their mother, so that they both can, and in the hopes, Father Yah, that you will build them up as a family to study your Torah, to worship and to gather and to just come together as a family, as their biological family, but also as the house of Yah, the family of Yah, and to serve you in righteousness and in truth. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, we pray. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom, Yahakana. Good to see you. So, as we start, when we stopped last time, we stopped on chapter 31, but like verse 14, and we seen where how Yaakov just gave us some detail to how Yaakov received his two wives, Leah and Rachel. Verse 9, it said, and the neighbors spoke these words before Yaakov during the night, and all the lights that were in the house of Laban had that night extinguished, and showed how Laban kind of set him up, threw a party, got him a little tips. He cut off all the lights in the house, which is more than likely blew out a bunch of candles and lanterns. But, I also don't put it past that these people could have had electricity. People back then they may not have been as scientific or as far as this world say, but they were more spiritually connected people. So anything is possible. Hallelujah. But the neighbors were kind of trying to tell him, like, hey, he trying to set you up. And he said he didn't understand. We know it was all Yah's doing in the end. But it just gave us some detail into how crafty Laban was. And then verse 14, we ended here with, it says, and when Yahuwah saw that Leah was hated, Yah opened her womb and she conceived and bare Yaakov 4 sons in those days. So even though he didn't want Leah, and we know when we read the story, Leah was, for lack of a better word, maybe the more righteous of the two, the one who took the yoke of her father's house off maybe before Rachel is probably a better way to put it. And we see that Yah, and that's how we know it was all by Yah's hand, because it specifically tells us that he opened Leah's womb first, right? Which is, that also speaks to something when you think about it, that at a time, um, Rachel and Leah would have been barren. And we know that, if I'm not mistaken, when Rachel has children, it says that Yah opened her womb too. So um, maybe that's another study into the things that was going on in Laban's house. Was that the cause of his daughters being barren? Who knows? But verse 15, where we started, says, and these are the names of the 4 boys that she had first, his first 4 sons. Reuben, who we know is going to go on to betray Jacob because of his love for Rachel, which is his mother, which is really his aunt, his mother's sister. Simeon, Levi, which is the line of which becomes the Levitical priesthood, and Yehuda, which is the line that the Messiah comes from, King David, and the kingly line is considered. A person can't stake claim to the prophets coming from a certain line, because when you read the prophets and the judges come from all different of the 12 tribes. Yah kind of brought one. I don't want to say brought one out of every line, but most of the 12 tribes, the 12 boys, has a prophet and a judge in the lineage. I would say that, though. It says, and she afterward left bearing. So she had 4 sons first. Verse 16. And at that time, Rachel was barren and she had no offspring. And Rachel envied her sister, Leah. And when Rachel saw that she bare no children to Jacob, she took her handmaid Bilhah, and she bare Jacob 2 sons, Dan and Naphtali. So these is, I should write this down, because I'd be curious at this at some point. So I am going to write this down. So the ages of the children are Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali. I was actually recently kind of curious to the order that they were born. Not necessarily for no reason, but I was just wondering. We'll write them down as they come. So after the first 4, Rachel was envious, which is messed up. And she brought her handmaid, which kind of speaks to, and we know that Rachel still has like the idols from her father's house that they worship at this time. She's going to have them when they leave. Rachel is still kind of more believing in her father, although I do believe she loves Jacob. Leah loves Jacob, I'm assuming, but also I believe Leah has a stronger connection to Abiyah. And what makes me say such a thing is, when she's having these children, when she starts to have these children, it's like, it says that, and Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said. So now, and as we see when we get back to the story in Genesis in the King James, it tells her, she said, or her feeling at the time of the birth, and it said, for she said, surely Yah have looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. So she's giving the glory to Yah for the boys, right? And she conceived again and bare a son, and because Yah had heard that I was hated, he have therefore given me this son. So see how, as these boys are being born, she's constantly saying, in the name of them is something because of what Yah has done, right? But when Rachel has I know Benjamin, she wanted to name him something else, and it was like, Jacob was like, no. And like I say, with her still having the idols, which we're going to see when we go forward, but when she leaves, she has the idols of Laban. That just kind of speaks to Leah is more, I don't know if righteous is the word, but she has taken off the yoke of her father's house, and she is fully locked in as a helpmate to Jacob on what Jacob is on. And Rachel is not completely there, right? So we see that Rachel still barren. And I say that here in verse 16, because Rachel, you would think, if she was, when she see her sister having these babies, this really should say Rachel began to pray and fast and ask Yah to open her womb and, so on and so forth. But instead, she immediately goes to really be kind of crafty and bring her handmaid, like, well, I ain't gonna let you have all the sons. My handmaid can have 2 sons and I want them. And I don't think it says here, but more than likely, it probably was a Sarah Hagar situation. Bill had the babies, and then now it's like, she ain't listening to me the same. Jacob loved me too. She probably kind of scarred herself a little bit here, being envious instead of humbling herself and praying. Yeah, I see what you're doing for my sister. Can you help me as well? Shalom, shalom, Aki Kimya. But Dan and Naphtali were 5 and 6. Verse 17, and when Leah saw that she had left bearing, she also took her handmaid Zilpah, and she gave her to Jacob for a wife. And Jacob also came to Zilpah, and she also bare Jacob 2 sons, Gad and Asher. So now Leah already having children. Rachel bring her handmaid. So now Leah's like, well, I'm gonna bring my handmaid too. Jacob like, man, I ain't signed up for this. I just wanted Rachel. Mind you, because ain't no baby daddy, maybe mama situations when it. I think a lot of times these translations kind of do a disservice to the way they just talk about somebody having babies. Jacob ain't got no baby mama, baby daddy situation. Like, he ain't just having sex with these women and having these kids. Bilhah and Zilpah, he's taking them as wives. Just like it kind of doesn't really say that with Sarah and Abraham, but Abraham wouldn't have just had sex with her. Like, um, he would have taken Hagar as a wife. 6, 7, so that's 8. Rachel 2. There's 2 missing. What am I missing here? Issachar? Zebulon. So after she gives Zilpah for a wife, and he has 2 kids by her, and now that's her and Rachel competing. And Leah really kind of wrong for that, to be honest, because Yah has opened your womb and blessed you. You ain't really got no business giving your handmaid doing what your sister did, because your sister, even though she's doing it out of envy, she's doing it because she ain't had no children. Part envious of you because you not really supposed to be married. Daddy done did something he ain't had no business. But also she wants to see Jacob have a son by her because she know he wants to. So Leah really didn't have no business giving her handmaid because you've been blessed with children, but Yah allowed her to, understanding that Yah's always in control and he's building. And see, that's something they wouldn't have maybe fully grasped. I think you said it last week when we were talking about how maybe like Esau didn't fully understand, couldn't grasp the prophetic nature of the future and the lineage of the family. And I can see that here with Rachel and or Leah may not fully grasp, but we know in their mind, I can see it just being, we want to give Jacob children. But Yah is using this to build a nation, his nation, which is going to go on to be the house of Yah. So, and we understand too, when we go through these scriptures that, as we always say, you reap what you sow still, even though Yah's allowing it, he uses it for the good to build his nation. There's also plenty of strife amongst these boys. It ain't just when they sell Yosef into slavery. When you go through, even when we were going through Judges, like Benjamin was into it with this person, and remember they killed all of the, I think they killed like all of the males or something, or they wouldn't let their daughters marry, I think, into Benjamin because of a situation. And then they had took an oath, and then it was one tribe didn't come, who they set it up to do that with, and the point I'm just trying to make is even though Yah allowed this, you still reap what you sow. And it wasn't just all smooth sailing with Jacob's 12 sons. Like, there would be strife amongst them at times, right? And I believe that's because of even though Yah allowed this and he uses everything for the good, as the scriptures say. It was, as we see here, it was strife in the conception of this. But then it says, and Leah again conceived and bare Jacob in those days 2 sons and 1 daughter, and these are their names, Issachar and Zebulun. So there they go. Issachar, Zebulun. So then Yah allowed her to have 2 more sons and a daughter. And their names were Issachar and Zebulun, and their sister is Dinah. And now Rachel still doesn't have any because we're at 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we're at 10. So the next 2 are Rachel. So that was the end of the babies by everybody else. So just stopping right there to start. Anything anybody want to add? You know, anything about the conceiving of Jacob's first children? And all of this is going on, if I'm not mistaken, all of this is going on while Jacob is still at Laban's house as well. He has not left there yet, and he's starting to have these children. Any questions or comments anybody want to bring to this? Exactly. Thank you for that scripture, Judges 21:15. That's just an example of the strife that we see within the tribes.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Good to hear from you. And you know, we see that same strife still when we get down to the New Testament. Because once you get to the New Testament, you got Yehuda primarily in Jerusalem, and all of the tribes playing it like they be acting funny.
Right.
Everything outside of Yehuda, like, no, y'all think y'all better than us.
Right. And you know, you always see Israel as being the elder. I should say Ephraim being the elder.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see Yehuda and Benjamin being the southern kingdom, you know, that the scepter is still residing in.
True.
And and then you also look at these women and you see that the mindset of the handmaids of the wives is basically translated into what the tribes would do.
Mm-hmm.
If you can understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You see that Israel, or I should say Dan, is basically, I listened to a great study by a brother. I love to always kind of give the place where you can go and get the full teaching. It's called the brother's called divine can't think of the brother's name. Harbinger's Ministry.
I heard of that before.
Yeah, and so he does a thing on Dan.
Okay.
And, and basically Dan, if you go, I think it's over in Judges where they start to go off into idolatry, where they were dealing with Micah. Remember?
Most definitely. That's true.
So anytime that you're dealing in idolatry, and of course, when you look at Ephraim, and you got to go back to the best way to remember the separation of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, who were the first Maliks of both kingdoms,
mm-hmm.
or kings of both kingdoms. Jeroboam, which seems like it should be for the southern kingdom because it got a J, but it's really for the northern kingdom. And Rehoboam is for the southern kingdom. So Jeroboam set up a whole new priesthood, set up a whole new place where the Most High was supposed to put his name and all that. So
True.
that's the jump off for Ephraim, for the idolatry. And then you will see how Levi is going to replace. I shouldn't even say that. There's a replacement of these different tribes. And one way to remember these tribes and to think about these tribes as they are nations.
Yes, They are nations today, especially.
They're nations, like, and this is why we're looking for these 12 nations to come back together.
Mhm.
That's the Basora, y'all.
Right. Hallelujah.
That's what the Basora is about. Is these nations coming back together. We won't vex one another. We won't be jealous of one another. So it's like, man, I'm going all over the place. But yeah,
You just made me
these,
think of something anyway, though.
yeah, I didn't want to take too much time, brother. I just wanted to, kind of look at, like you were talking about, Leah getting her handmaid, to have children, and you could just imagine Rachel steaming,
Most definitely.
Rachel steaming over there, because and there's a different countenance among these women. It might not even be that recognizable. Are they supposed to be twin sisters?
I don't know, but I know when Laban brought him up, he said you can't marry off the younger before the older, which was a tradition I think he was making up on the fly. But that could just mean they could have been twins and she just came out first.
Right, right.
So
So I
I
don't
don't know.
even.
I don't know if it states that anywhere.
And the thing about it is that what I like about Leah is she stopped pursuing the love of Yaakov.
Hmm.
She said, "I'm gonna pursue the love of Yah,"
True.
because she had to have some rest. She had to have some rest in her spirit. She didn't choose this situation. She didn't choose this situation, man, to be like, you want me to go in the tent with Yaakov tonight, Dad? That's gonna be crazy. You just do what I tell you to do, right? Like, y'all got to think about obedient daughter. Okay, and I'm quite sure when Leah was talking to Yaakov, like, I know you loved my sister. My dad made me do this, but I've always admired you.
Of course, you've been there 7 years. She probably loved him for real.
She loved him for real. And he's like, and then guess what? I think even Yaakov said, I love you too. He's got the spirit of Yah, but it wasn't what he was drawn to. You know what I'm saying? But I
Hmm.
think as he got older, and I think after the situation with Yosef, and him coming back and seeing how all of this played out, he understood it.
Hallelujah.
I mean, it's like a total story, y'all. Genesis, or Bereshith, which means in the head, in the beginning, in the head, is really like how I think it's really supposed to be understood from my first teacher. Man, everything is there.
It is. And it is
Everything.
like you saying, it's a so you're making a really good point. It's a lesson that probably could be written right around this because y'all's making multiple points here. For one, if a person doesn't have a heart after Yah, no matter what lineage they come from. Remember, Laban was sent, I'm not Laban, Jacob was sent there by Yitzhak and Rivka on go marry amongst our people. Esau got these
Right.
reckless women around us. Don't take one of them. But yet he gets up there and Rachel's the one that he just so happened to fall in love with is
Right.
really kind of just as reckless. And not only that, Laban's definitely as reckless as a Canaanite to even trick his nephew like this. But we know
Right.
that from when Eliezer came to get Rivka, when Laban and them were children, Laban understand the type of blessing that come when somebody from the lineage
Right.
of Abraham come around. And I believe that they know that Yah has chosen them, whether they following Yah or not is one thing, but they know the prophecy too. That line has been chosen by Yah. I did see Eliezer come bless my daddy. So part of him giving him Leah was, I think he already had it in his mind, I need Jacob to marry both my daughters. But I think it was also, I'm gonna try to string this along as far as I can to get as much out of the blessing that's been given to Jacob because I can. And then in the first 7 years, he like, man, I done blew up. I'm out here rich now. People know my
Right.
name. I was just a regular dude around here. Now it's, man, Laban got the best sheep, and you know what I mean? So I got to get 7 more years out of this. So he was in trickery. So it just goes to show that even if you Shemitic, mind you, this is
Right.
they're Abraham's brother's children. So it's a story behind just even in that.
The sword is in the house,
Mm-hmm.
the separation. And so, you know, the Father doesn't ever want you to think bloodline is righteous.
Exactly.
He doesn't want you to fall into that. He's trying to let you understand that, you know, what I set apart, I've set apart. I've set apart, uh, I've sprinkled righteousness in every nation. I mean, and it's up to the righteous, to call and to be standing in righteousness so that they could recognize this is a safe place and these are the true bloodline people, because the true bloodline people they're not gonna hiss, and they're not gonna hate on nobody that they see keeping Torah. They're not gonna do it, because we were a stranger too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at Caleb,
Mm-hmm.
right? Look at Uriah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Yehob. You look at Iob. Look at Job.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We got to look at these people, and we got to understand that these people were striving unto righteousness, and they had been known before the foundation of the earth.
Look at Ruth.
Look at Ruth.
Yeah, look at the one woman who was the prostitute who helped
Rahab.
Caleb now.
Is it Rahab?
It did, and it said in her story after that she lived amongst Israel with the rest of her lives. No, she had children, and at
Right.
that time to be around them, man, she had to pick up something, or you couldn't be around at that time.
And, you know, I was looking at Hebrews last night, and it was talking about all of these people, and I think it was including Rahab. They didn't receive the promises. Moses, Abraham, none of these people received the promises in their life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's for us to understand. Like, some of us are not going to receive the promises of walking into the promised land, even though we're in the end times. Some of us are going to die. But as it says over in Hebrews 2, we're not going to be, when we are all brought back, all of us, the dead and the living, are going to be brought back together in the twinkling of an eye. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be a situation where, you know, just because you didn't walk into it, you ain't going to get the glory of being with Yahusha as he seizes the authority and the sovereignty over the earth. You see what I'm saying? He's looking for those who worship him in spirit and in truth. He did not say he was looking for Yashrael bloodline who's going to worship him in spirit and in truth.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
You got to catch what he's trying to say, because he said, you know, it's not his pleasure to see any soul destroyed. You know, he's grieved among that. And what our mission is as the bloodline is, let's not hurt dad no more.
True.
I'm not going to hurt my dad no more. I'm not hurting him. And if I don't hurt him in sin, right, then I'm going to be able to call those from the other nations.
That's the
They're
only
going to be, they're going to be able to see it.
that's the only way.
That's the only way.
We can't. You can, we can, I can. Nobody who has the promise, as you say, because it was to be the light of the world, to really
That's
be
right.
ambassadors of the word. We can't do that in sin. Even if
That's
we try to, Yah's not allowing it. That's part of the problem. That's a theme as part of the problem that we're going to consistently see as we go forward with this is Yah's not allowing us to be in sin and
right.
be that light. We can't represent him like that. So you are right.
And I'm going to say this real quick and close. You know, in Matthew chapter 5, I mean, when you're down, I don't care who you are. If you can consent, just as it says in Isaiah chapter 1, consider. And then you can consider that you want to serve the living, true and living Elohim of Israel. Then you jump over to Matthew 5 and you see the master teacher who is the word, telling you the proponents of a soul that will live forever. The meek soul, the soul that hungers and thirsts after righteousness, right? He's going to be filled, right? He tells you that the land grant is given to the meek. The meek inherit the earth. He didn't say Israel inherits the earth. He said the meek inherit the earth. But they're led by righteous Israel. Not all Israel. It's going to be nations and righteous Israel, righteous people from nations and righteous Israel. That Sermon on the Mount is he's dropping it. He's telling it it's going to start from here and then it's going to spread. But I need you to hold fort because you're the only ones that know what my chastisement is. And I've been looking at this thing today and it says, it pleases him to chastise me. By his stripes, we are healed. I would love everyone to just go into a study and to find out, what does that mean? I'm trying to find out. This is what I'm doing in my prayer request. By his stripes, we are healed.
Hallelujah.
I don't even know what that means, y'all. I mean, I'm not even playing with y'all. But I know it's deep. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
No, it is. And it's like I say, it's a lesson to be had in here. Something else that just came to me here is, we know Rachel is still worshiping with her father worshiping. And then Bill, her handmaid, is the one who was the mother of Dan, which may explain why the tribe of Dan was really the first tribe to kind of break off into idol worship.
See, now you're making the connection, right?
Most definitely. So it's a study to go into the boys. One day, you never know. You never know. But as we go on to verse 19, and thank you for the points, Aki, shalom. As we go into the verse 19, as we see that there have been 10 boys born, and it just gave us the order that they were born in. And then it says, and Rachel was still barren in those days, and Rachel prayed. Now she prayed. And and that's the first time it said that she did that. And Rachel prayed unto Yah at that time, and she said, O Elohim Yahuwah, El Shaddai, I'm sure it's probably a really long title. Remember me and visit me, I beseech thee, for now my husband will cast me off, for I have borne him no children. So now she a little worried. He done had 10 kids. He came here, worked 7 years for me. My daddy done tricked him. And now he got 10 kids and I still ain't had one. Now, Abba Yah, hear my supplication before thee and see my affliction and give me children like one of the handmaids, that I may no more bear my reproach. She didn't even say her sister. She said like one of the handmaids. That was interesting. And Yah heard her and opened her womb. And a lot of this come down to what you believe. So when I talk to because I know some people, like younger people just getting married who's struggling to have babies and all of that, and they talk science and health, like diet and things like that. And I'm just trying to be encouraging in the things that I can. But whenever they ask me how do I feel about it, I always tell them it comes down to what you believe. Because I believe this right here. Anybody who tells me that they trying to have children and they barren or just haven't had them or for whatever reason, I believe this. I believe that Yah has closed your womb for some reason, and then if you pray, he'll open it. With that being said, though, I won't say I'll be cautious, but I'll be mindful how I relay that to different people that I talk to, because if they don't believe that, then, I'm saying something that's falling on deaf ears. But that's a prayer that I pray for people that I talk to like that, or even, now that I'm closer to 40, as friends of mine, Women who I've grown up with, who sometimes I talk to them and it's like I haven't had kids and I'm going to get my eggs froze, and I never try to talk them out of that, even if I don't necessarily agree with that. I never try to talk a person out of that. But I always try to tell them before I would do that, I would pray. And that's kind of like my way to let them know that, it's something greater than that, because I believe that. In truth, I don't believe no woman has to get their eggs froze. I believe through prayer, anything can be done. I really believe that. But if you're talking to people who don't believe that, it's just a different conversation. And as we see right here, Rachel, it has not said she prayed yet. She finally did. And it says, Yah heard her and opened her womb. And Rachel conceived and bare a son. And she said, the Most High has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Yosef, saying, may Yahuwah add to me another son. And Jacob was 91 years old when she bare him. So if I'm not mistaken, Jacob was 60 when he got there. So he would have been 67. He would have been 74 when he got married. And if he's 91 by the time that they're having these children, it kind of gives us that's about a 17-year window from the time that he had officially married Rachel now. So it's just kind of giving us a window to the age limit of these boys. So by the time Yosef come, it's possible that Jacob got teenagers who like, man, what? You know what I mean? So that's just another interesting thing too. He was 91 when he had Yosef. You came, I see your hand. What's going on, Doc?
Yeah, so you can see how the situation happened with I think it's Reuben and Bilhah.
That's definitely coming up. We about to get to that.
Yeah, you can see how that age. This is my mom's family's got my grandmother's family's got 10 children. My mother's family has got like something like 10 children. And so you can see how when some woman has 10 children, these are 10 children and my grandmother's family, 10 children by her. Mm-hmm. So that's 190 months of pregnancy.
That's a long time.
That's a lot of pregnancy. You know what I'm saying? And she was also a midwife over in town with the doctors, helping them. She was a doula that worked with the physicians from Duke University and, and UNC, I think they all went to Duke, but she was over there working with them, helping them deliver the babies.
So she's seen a lot of babies be born.
She's seen a lot of stuff, and she's had a lot of babies. So like but I wanted to. This is my great grandmother Neva. May the Most High rest her soul. And I was thinking about her tombstone today, and it was I got a picture of it. It was 1880. I think she's 1885 or 1887 when she was born, and she's a very sweet woman, and delivered a lot of children in the Orange, Alamance County area. But anyway, I wanted to say something else, and I kind of forgot my point of what I wanted to say, what I was really initially wanting to say about all of this. I don't want to ramble and everything, but I do think about, the situation with the prayer, mm-hmm. and the situation with the prayer of Rachel. And then I think that's also a scripture where Rachel cries for her child. And I never understood that scripture, y'all. There's a scripture over there in the Tanakh where Rachel cries for her children, right? Mm-hmm. Why did they choose Rachel and not Leah? Because Rachel was probably always crying.
True.
She was just in it, right? She wanted, and then she didn't even know she was gonna have Yosef.
No, true.
Yosef was, and then Yosef was hated because of the love that was transferred, that the love that Yaakov would never, he just couldn't hide the fact that he was about Rachel. You see what I'm saying? It's like, it's just a notorious story, known story that, man, I really wasn't trying to marry Leah. And Leah was trying to get the love. And that was why the sons were like, man, can't you love my mama? And so when they saw Joseph walking up, I mean, y'all got to see this dynamic, man.
No,
I
it's
mean, he
definitely
got
something.
all these special clothes on and stuff. And man, we're gonna sell this Negro.
Hey, man, they was.
I mean, you got to catch all of this, man, and walk with it and understand it.
It
And
definitely all
understand
started here.
the innocence of Joseph.
Yeah, he wasn't on
Joseph
none
was,
of that.
he was, these dreams was dropped on him. Be like, man, he dropping these. I would tell you, in order for somebody to tell you some dreams, they had to be vivid.
Yes.
Like, ain't nobody telling you some dreams about, you know, you know, things are bowing down to me. That's some vivid stuff. The one thing I love about Joseph's life is it's so vivid. It's like, the most I would give you stuff, and it's like, it's done. I've only had one dream in my life like that. And it was about my mom and me. Right. And it was very vivid. You know what I'm saying? And the dream went like this. I don't want to take too much of y'all's time. Y'all want to hear it? Y'all want to hear it?
Go
I
ahead.
don't know. Anyway, I was about 13, 14 years old. We had a store over in the next section, probably about 2 miles from my house. And it was summer. I had a dream. It was probably like early morning, mid-morning. I woke up, I was sweating and all this kind of stuff. And it was the dream about me and my mom. It was this long road with a chain link fence on one side. Cars parked up and down both sides of the road. There was nobody outside of the chain link fence and where the cars and the chain link on this side of the chain link fence except me and all these cars. It was a bunch of people in a line over there. And I saw my mom over there. And I said, Mom, what are you doing? And she was just had this look on her face like she wasn't even responding. Nobody was saying nothing. She wasn't even responding to me. Right? I said, Mom, come out of there. Or whatever. I woke up, got on my bicycle, and rode all the way to the store and crying and said, Mom, I had a dream. And she said, don't worry about it, baby, whatever. I don't think she understood it. I don't still know what it means. But I didn't understand it, and I'm trying to gather. I don't know what it means, but that's the only vivid dream I've ever really had that I can still remember. Like I remember every piece of it. You know what I'm saying? I got pieces of a dream. Like there's a group called Pieces of a Dream, and it's amazing that they got that name. But I get pieces of a dream all the time. Different dreams. I got dreams like stored up like memories, and they're just there. I don't talk to people about them because I don't like people talking to me about stuff and, it's not no definition behind it. Ultimately, one day is going to be used for me to help my people. I don't know how, but that was what the dream was. But yeah, this whole situation as far as Rachel having the idol and all of this stuff and her coming into her recognition of Yahuwah and understanding, because this family that she married into is more righteous than the family that she come out of, even though they're said the same bloodline. And that's the same thing that I see with Rivka. Rivka knew everybody at Nahor was not on point. That's why she was like, man, I'm going to be with some real people. She knew the fame of Abraham. And so she knew she was going to be married to Isaac. She was lighted off of her camel and ran and hugged and kissed Yitzhak. You got to catch this stuff, man. These people, I love Rivka. I love Leah. Leah is so deep to me. That's the one person that I really want to see on the other side because she came to the realization that she could be married to Yahusha. And that's the thing that happens to a lot of us that are single, that we don't know, should I get married or whatever? Marry Yahusha first. That's what you do. She had to marry him after she was married to Yaakov. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. That's true. Marry Yahusha first. That's actually a thing too in this awakening, people being single. I know that's a battle for a lot of people. I'm thankful that I didn't come into this like that. Verse 22 says, and at that time, Jacob's mother Rivkah sent her nurse Deborah, the daughter of Uz, and two of Yitzhak's servants unto Jacob. So Rivkah checking on Jacob. Remember, he's up here with Laban because the whole situation that's going on with Esau. She was worried about him. Esau plotting on him. When Yitzhak died, he gonna kill his brother. Plus, they watching him with these wives who got these children. They up here reckless. He got them around the house and wherever they living, which is probably a really big plush place, considering that it's possible Yitzhak got 500-600 servants working for him, a bunch of cattle, a bunch of everything, really. So she's sending a check on Jacob. And Rivkah might also be doing this because, like I just said, she like, I don't know what Laban be on. For real. Like, let me make sure my son's straight up here with him. So verse 23 say, and they came to Jacob to Haran, and they said unto him, Rivkah has sent us to thee, that thou shalt return to thy father's house to the land of Canaan. And Jacob hearkened unto them in this which his mother had spoken. At that time, the other 7 years which Jacob served Laban for Rachel were completed. And it was at the end of 14 years that he had dwelt in Haran, that Jacob said unto Laban, or Laban, give me my wives and send me away, that I may go to my land. For behold, my mother did send unto me from the land at Canaan, that I should return to my father's house. And you know that we see that in even like Leviticus, I believe, or it might be Numbers when they give stipulations for like servants and households, to where when it's your time to leave, the person over the house that you were working for, because it wasn't like slavery that like we look at it today, that they could say these kids are the kids of my household. I know that it's I don't know the exact scriptures, but I know that it speaks about the stipulations and the way even that's supposed to be handled. So what he's doing right here is similar to something that will go on with Yasharal as we get into the wilderness with Moshe, and is taught how to go about a servant at the house who works his tenure and he leaves. And I spoke about Abraham because and this is in like the Apocalypse of Abraham, some other books that's associated with him, that when his servants, or Ibrahim, when his servants were worked their limit and it was time for them to leave, a lot of times they would tell him like, we don't want to leave. Because he was just like, yeah, take you and your family and go. I'm sure you got some people who like, nah, you had them kids here, they got to work for me too. And which is, kind of a little thirsty. But Abraham was like, yeah, take your family, go do your thing. But a lot of the servants under him would be like, nah, we don't want to leave. Even though the time up, I still rather work here. We'll work for our keep and blah, blah, blah. Abraham like, cool. So for Jacob to do this, I say all that to say is for him to do that with Laban here is kind of like proper procedure. It says, and Laban said unto him, not so, I pray thee, if I found favor in thy sight, do not leave me. Appoint me thy wages, and I will give them, and remain with me. So he like, tell me what I owe you for all the work you've done, but stay here. Because thinking back to Eliezer when he was a child, and even how he came up since he been there, he trying to be slick, man. I done came up, I done got money, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. He's trying to keep him there. And I believe he been on that. That's why he gave him Leah in the first place. He like, man, we on the come up. I need him here. Jacob's smart. He's a shepherd. He's and Yah's blessing all his works because he's a righteous man. So I believe Laban was on that the whole time, but now he kind of speaking to it. No, don't leave. Remain with me. If I found favor, I'll even pay you, but don't leave. You to work for the daughters. I can't do no more tricks. I don't got no more daughters. Just stay. Let me pay you and stay. And Jacob said unto him, this is what thou shalt give me for wages that I shall this day. So now that I shall this day pass through all thy flock and take away from every lamb that is speckled and spotted, and such as are brown amongst the sheep and amongst the goats. And if thou wilt do this thing for me, I will return and feed thy flock and keep them as at first. So it's funny because now Jacob is really kind of being slick, but it's because Laban trying to pull a stunt and he peeping now. So he like, okay, I'm gonna help you. But the only thing different now is in the midst of helping you come up, I'm gonna come up now too. I got a family. This how it's gonna be. I believe in this moment, Jacob is kind of starting to realize this dude trying to use me now. It says, and Laban did so. And Laban moved from his flock all that Jacob had said and gave them to him. So, you know, the speckled ones, the ones with blemishes, you know. So I'm sure too, the people around is like, man, Laban got some unblemished sheep. That's incredible. But Jacob is working a move on the other side. It says, and Jacob placed all that he had removed from Laban's flock in the hands of his sons. And Jacob was feeding the remainder of Laban's flock. And when the servants of Yitzchak, which he had sent unto Jacob, saw that Jacob would not be in return with them to the land of Canaan, to his father, they then went away from him, and they returned home to the land of Canaan. And Deborah remained with Jacob in Haran. So, mind you, this is his mother's nurse. So she older than his mother. Hey, and considering that she'd been there without their mother and all of that, Deborah is really kind of like grandma to Jacob. Them been with him his whole life, and then really helped raise his mother since. And Nissan said his mother was 10 when she left her father's house. That's why this nurse went with her. So this kind of like grandma, really. Big auntie at the least. So it says she wouldn't return. She wouldn't leave Jacob. And Deborah resided with Jacob's wives and children in Haran. So now she see what's going on with the kids, with Rachel, understanding that she done seen everything that had happened with Esau and Jacob, and now that Jacob been gone, she know that Esau got these women around. Yitzchak ain't really feeling that. These women is worshiping and doing this, so she kind of peeping this same behavior too. And I'm sure she didn't pull Jacob to the side, like, look, this was going on back there with your daddy and Esau. Keep your eye on Rachel and what's going on. And the reason why I'm kind of foreshadowing this, but the reason why I'm saying that is because Yah's going to send an angel soon, and it might come up in the next few verses, that's going to come tell Jacob, like, Yah said you need to get your house in order. Which lets us be known that this thing's going on that Yah don't see as righteous. And Deborah would see it too. So I wouldn't be surprised in her staying here. And that's how grandma be, pull you to the side, like, you better watch that. Same way Abraham did when he went and saw Ishmael, told him, you got to get your tent peg right. Deborah probably told him, you got to get your tent peg right. Verse 31. And Jacob served Laban 6 years longer. So now he'd been there 20 years. He would have had to have been older than 60 when he got there then. Because it just said he had Yosef at 91. He would have had to have been older. He might have been like 70, 75. He was up there though. I just knew that. And Jacob served Laban 6 years longer. And when the sheep brought forth, Jacob removed from them such as were speckled and spotted, as he had determined with Laban. And Jacob did so at Laban's for 6 years. And the man increased abundantly, and he had cattle and maid servants and men servants, camels and asses. He done got rich just by removing the speckled and the spotted. Now, the father is always in control because the father knows Laban is being slick. I'm sure he's probably making sure that these speckled and spotted, when these sheep are conceiving these sheep, Yah is probably sending an abundance of speckled and spotted because he knows that they are Jacob. But verse 32, and Jacob had 200 drove of cattle, and his cattle were of large size and of beautiful appearance and were very productive. And all the families of the son of men desired to get some of the cattle of Jacob, for they were exceedingly prosperous. So Jacob is really good at what he's doing. You know, the diet, the way he taking care of these animals, what he feeding them, the water they getting, just, you know, everything he's doing with this cattle, he's really good. He got really large cattle with beautiful appearance, and they say all the sons of men knew. So like, he the talk of the day where in Haran, like, man, but it might not just be Jacob. The talk might be dude who in Laban's house, you feel me, is doing this, this, and that. Because these people know Laban around here. Remember when he first got there, he asked them, y'all know Laban? They said, yeah, we know Laban. He do this, he do that, he over there. You know, Laban got a name now, though. This is why Laban want him to stay. Kind of remind me of what's going on today. Like, for all that talk that you hear here in America, when things go left, is always like, you can go back to Africa then, right? That's kind of like a slur that the people of other nations, say the black people in America, if you don't like it here, go back to Africa then. Yet we know that if 10 million African Americans got up and was like, all right, we finna move back to Africa, man, they already have in the time of Marcus Garvey, they will fight us tooth and nail. We was just talking, you can't leave for real, because even though they don't want to give credit for it, and now they don't even want it taught in the schools, but everybody in the world know. Hitler even said it back in the day when Jesse Owens was at the Olympics. Hitler was like, how dare y'all bring this slave who built y'all country to race against us? Like, if don't nobody in the world know nothing. And even when you go back and study the Revolutionary War with the British and all of that in the 1800s, right? Civil War, all that. All the nations always has told America, them black folks that y'all be stepping on there built that country for free. Everybody in the world know that, who care to know. So I see a similarity there to the way Laban don't want Jacob to go, to the same way it's spoken to us here. You know, in one breath, it's like, you could go back. Then Marcus Garvey, like, well, let's send them back then. And it's like, nah, they can't go back for real. That hell no. Nah, because it's known, like, this is the money. This is the gold. Remember, the gold to Yah is his people. Like they tell us that, prime example. So currency in the world is supposed to be backed by gold. That's what's supposed to make what currency be the top currency. Yet, if you study the history of the Federal Reserve, they emptied the gold out of there, like after the Great Depression. It's been empty. Yet the dollar is still the highest dollar in the world. Why? Because they got the gold, if that make any sense. Verse 33, and many of the sons of men came to procure some of Jacob's flock. And Jacob gave them a sheep for a manservant or a maidservant. So now he trading sheep for hands because he got an abundance of everything. I can hear Jacob be like, man, I don't even need no more sheep or cattle. I need some help keeping all this together. I'm wearing my boys out. They only teenagers really at this time. Maybe Reuben is 20, maybe, but they young still. Well, they men, but a lot of them live to be 130, 140, 150. So they young compared to that, I should say. But he said he traded manservants and maidservants for asses or camels, or whatever Jacob desired from them, they gave him. And Jacob obtained riches and honor and possessions by means of these transactions with the sons of men, and the children of Laban envied him of his honor. So Laban being slick, I'm trying to keep him here for the blessing. And they just go to show you once again how Yah uses everything for the good, because he has increased Jacob X-fold. And now the children of Laban, who also, remind you, these children of Laban, they all in on the scheme. We keeping Jacob here. He making us rich. Daddy done tricked him with Leah. They know. If the neighbors know, they definitely know. But now they jealous, like, dang, we done did all that. Same thing you see here as well. Slavery, we done did all this. We done defeated these people. And look at them. They still, in many aspects, flourishing. Yahakanah, shalom.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, that's accurate, just in terms of not only in that story, but also with Joseph and his story, and how Potiphar's house was blessed because of him being there. Yeah, United States don't want us to go back. It's another land. Whoever gets us, yeah, you'll be blessed because you have us. That's probably part of the reason why they have been able to maintain their prosperity for so long. I just wanted to say that. Shalom.
Most definitely. Hallelujah. I didn't even think of Yosef and Potiphar, but you are correct. It's definitely other instances of us being around. Like, I mean, and Yahusha told the disciples that wherever you go, bring that peace to the house. Wherever you go, that accept you. That's kind of just like a marker of how Yah situates his people. You came here.
Yeah, shalom. Yeah, hallelujah. Good point, sis. And I was thinking of Laban as basically an Esau type. Yeah. And modern day Esau type, in our own house, that knows our weaknesses and that it wants to take the blessing back that he didn't want honor when it was his. And that's kind of way I see this situation playing out. And you know, even looking at the speckled sheep, like, you know, that's us. You know, it doesn't seem like they're going to be of any value and any. That's just the color. But when you pass that sheep under the rod, does this sheep have strong character? Does it have strong teeth? Does it have a good wool? And so these sheep, as you just read over, they were, you know, people coveted these sheep, right? You see, and so the people are coveting this. Normally, people want a sheep, you know, all white, all black, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But this is a speckled sheep. But the sheep is so healthy and so durable until people are like, man, that's the, and that's the ones that he walked off with. You see, he walked off with the ones that were not wanted. It's almost like looking at it and saying, this is the stone that the builders rejected.
True.
This is the stone that the builders rejected, because they don't know the eternal, they don't have the eternal architecture of the kingdom in them. They don't know the plans, the blueprints. So they're going to reject what they should be. They're going to let that stone fall on them instead of stumbling over it and getting back up and say, oh, let me put this stone in the building. You know, so I kind of see all of these stories, these microcosms of Yasharel coming from nothing, coming from the least. The last will be first. Nobody wanted those speckled sheep in the beginning, but when they started having the type of standards, I'm trying to think of the right word as far as breed. They started having the superior breeding metrics. Like, you know, they had the superior breeding standard over the other sheep. People like, nah, I'll take the speckled sheep because that's what's up. I can see it. I can see how they move and how they're smarter and they're more resilient and healthier and they're stronger. And that's what Yasharel is now. You know?
And
Hallelujah.
that's a good comparison of the speckled sheep being like Yasharali says, will be a speckled bird. I didn't think of that, and I can see that as well. Like they look over these sheep, but these really actually are these sheep. Hallelujah. Good point. Where we were at, verse 35. It says verse 35, it says that and in the course of time, he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's has he acquired all this glory. And that speaks to that as well. Like you look at these nations that have enslaved us and really used our people to build up their own stature at the same time oppressing us. We know in the end, Yah say when he comes to retrieve his people, they're going to have to give all of that back. Kind of the same as Yah has blessed Jacob, as Laban really being slick. Laban been being slick from the time Jacob got there. I don't believe he concocted this plan on the fly. I believe, and this is just my personal opinion, but I believe from the time he seen Jacob come there and Jacob told him what was going on and why he was there, Laban was plotting the whole time. And now, as Yah use everything for the good, you do see a correlation there as well. It says, and Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban and of his children, and behold, it was not toward him in those days as it had been before. So at first they loving him. Yeah, stay here, bro. Because secretly it's like we balling because of him. Now it's like, yeah, we got a little something, but he done came up. He got our sisters, he got all these kids, and now he rich. And he already done told father he finna leave. He finna leave. And Yah appeared to Jacob at the expiration of 6 years. And I think this is where it's at. It says, Yahuwah appeared to Jacob at the expiration of 6 years and said unto him, arise, go forth out of this land and return to the land of thy birthplace, and I will be with thee. So now it ain't just Deborah and the servants of your father and your mother coming. It's time for you to go. Don't worry about what he talking about. I got that. It's time for you to go. And Jacob rose up at that time and he mounted his children and wives and all belonging to him upon camels. And he went forth to go to the land of Canaan to his father, Yitzchak. And Laban did not know that Jacob had gone from him. For Laban had been that day sheep shearing. So he left while Laban and his children was out handling his day business with their sheep, which I'm sure Laban, Yah has blessed Jacob, but Laban, I'm still assuming that Laban is in a better position than he was before Jacob got there still. But while they gone, he left. And see, this is what it is about Rachel. And Rachel stole her father's images. You don't do that, being his idols or whatever he's praying to, worshiping, whatever the case may be. You don't do that unless that's what you own. You just don't do that unless that's what you own. So that just lets me know, and that's why I was speaking how I was speaking about Rachel when they were having these children this night. Or when they were having that children, that's why I was speaking like that about Rachel, because you don't just steal them images and that's what you own. And we seen that Leah was praying and giving Yah thanks when she was having these children. And it just kind of speaks towards kind of what Rachel was on at this time. She's still gravitating more towards her father's house and the teachings that she had gotten in her father's house. The word for images here in Hebrew, that's what I was looking for. Teraphim, a healer. So something they praying to for healing, a family idol. And when you Google this at that time, a family idol might have been an infant who died. They didn't keep a skull or something like how you see in the movies, or a hand. This might have been very explicit, is the word I should say. Well, Rachel stole this, and she took them and she concealed them upon the camel upon which she sat, and she went on. And this is the manner of the images. And taking a man who was the firstborn and slaying him. So this is telling us, I didn't even know this was right here. This is telling us Laban had a son, more than likely, and he slayed him. And taking the hair off his head, and taking salt and salting the head and anointing it in oil, then taking a small tablet of copper or a tablet of gold and writing the name upon it and placing the tablet under his tongue and taking the head with the tablet under the tongue and putting it in the house and lighting up lights before it, candles more than likely, and bowing down to it. So, and you know what? I remember the old Indiana Jones movie, the Crystal Skulls or whatever, or the Temple of Doom. That's what those people were in there doing. I remember one of the old James Bond movies when he was in like the Bahamas or something, and dude and them was like selling all the drugs in America. It was one of the weaker Bond movies to me, but that's what they were down there doing. And you just see this type of thing in movies and certain things sometimes, but we see that in this, as we know Jasher to be a historical account, this is what this was an explicit thing. So like, don't look at it like she just stole like some sticks or some dowel or something. Like she just stole something that would be explicitly crazy. And the fact that she hid this from Jacob. It says, and at that time when they bow down to it, it speak to them in all matters that they ask of it through the power of the name which is written in it. So now you talk about necromancy, wizards, and we know as when Moshe come into the land, I think he says in either Numbers or Deuteronomy, suffer not a witch to live. So if this was the time of the tribes and all of that, what Rachel was doing by taking this with the intent to do that, I'm assuming she ain't just taking it, her sentence for this could have been death. You talk about familiar spirits and high level witchcraft, especially talking about it speaking back. You're talking about high level witchcraft here. And some make them in the figures of men of gold and silver, and go to them in times known to them. And the figures receive the influence of the stars. Stars right here, I'm assuming to be fallen angels. And tell them future things, or demons. And we seen this when we went through the Testament of Solomon. Remember, the demon told him, we go up to the firmament, but we can't get through it. We can't sit in it. We hear the judgments come down from Yah, and we come down and tell men. This kind of follows that. Figures receive the influence of the stars, which could be fallen angels or demons. Remember, in the Testament of Solomon, for those of you who was with us when we read it, it said that the demon told Solomon that when you look up and see what y'all call a fallen star, it's a demon falling out of the firmament who got tired and couldn't stay up there any longer. He told him, but the fallen angels have perches in the firmament. They can stay there. We can just go up there, but we have to come back down. And he said that we are the fallen stars that men see, which I think was so ironic because in what we grow up doing, you're taught if you see a fallen star, make a wish. I thought about that one day. I was on the phone with Yahakanan looking in the sky and I saw a fallen star and I thought like they taught us as children to make wishes to demons. And they say he tell them the future, which is what the demon said in the Testament of Solomon. They will tell them future things. And in this manner were the images which Rachel stole from her father. So if we take this at face value, like I say, this is top level witchcraft they're talking about here. Verse 44. And Rachel stole these images which were her father's in order that Laban might not know through them where Jacob had gone. So now think, knowing how y'all work, Laban see Jacob coming. He probably went and prayed to these things and these demons, this top level witchcraft, this demon probably told him, you need to keep him at your house. That's how you're going to be blessed. But see, that's how y'all work too. Y'all allow that demon to tell Laban that just so in the end, Jacob could walk away with everything. Real talk. So I'm assuming he probably was consorting these things with the way to move you with Jacob. That's why he's trying so hard to keep him there. I'm sure this played a part as well. It says she stole them in order that Laban might not know through them where Jacob had gone. And that just shows her lack of faith as well, because you see Leah wasn't in on it because Leah like, man, I trust y'all. I don't care what them things talking about. And Laban came home and he asked concerning Jacob and his household, and he was not to be found. Which, think about that. You come home, they already said he got big cattle, big sheep, maid servants, men servants. Like, you talk about like a whole field that was just full of tents and, you know, water holes and wells and just gone, just empty. And Laban came home and asked concerning Jacob and his household, and he was not to be found. And Laban sought his images to know where Jacob had gone and could not find them. And he went to some other images. So look, Rachel only knew about the ones he had out. Laban got a bunch more, which lets us know that Laban is in a high level wickedness. This is Rivka's brother. Rivka sent Jacob there like, no, don't marry a Canaanite. Go to my brother and marry some. And thinking about her brother, she didn't even realize I'm sending him to somebody who's just as bad as these Canaanites. And he went to some other images, which is probably something she thought about. That's why she sent Deborah to go check them. Laban had some other images stashed. Like, how do you even stash that in the refrigerator? Like, where do you put a head? Where do you? It's just wild to me. And he inquired of them, and they told him, these demons spoke to him, that Jacob had fled from his fathers to the land of Canaan. He went home. And Laban rose up and he took his brothers and all his servants. Look, he didn't even take his sons, and he took his brothers, like, because all of them probably like, man, we done came up since Jacob been here. I'm doing better than I ever did. And he went forth and pursued Jacob, and he overtook him in Mount Gilead, which ironically, if I'm not mistaken, the Gileadites were Ephraimites, either Ephraim or Manasseh. So Mount Gilead, where they was at, would become either part of Ephraim or Manasseh in ancient Israel. Something else ironic about this Mount Gilead, it's probably today, wherever this Mount Gilead would be, is more than likely either part of Jordan, Turkey, or Syria, which is all places that just felt that big earthquake. And the second one was in this Mount Gilead. And Laban said unto Jacob, what is this thou hast done to me, to flee and deceive me, and leave my daughters and their children as captives, take them by the sword? And thou did not suffer me to kiss them and send them away with joy, and thou did steal my gods and did go away. Like, you stole my gods and my children, all this and that. You ain't let me kiss. You ain't gonna kiss them with joy. You was gonna try to talk me out of it. Hey, but hallelujah, even with you feeling like that, and let that be a lesson to all of y'all. Jacob didn't care how he was gonna feel about it. He like, I got to do what y'all done told me. I got to go. And Jacob answered Laban, saying, because I was afraid lest thou wouldst take thy daughters by force from me. And now with whomsoever thou find thy gods, he shall die. He don't even know the one he loved the most, Rachel, got him. Jacob might have knew, low-key, when I think about it. He might have. Because he ain't no fool. He know amongst his household. So the servants, but he like, no, Leah follow y'all. I don't see her going. Bilhah Ziphi maybe ain't got the heart to go. We ain't no fool, man. When you say that, you kind of get to thinking like, who? In his heart, he might be thinking, man, I hope it wasn't Rachel, man. Because she already exhibited that she ain't necessarily completely locked in with all that. And Laban searched for the images, and he examined in all Jacob's tents and furniture, but could not find them. And Laban said unto Jacob, we will make a covenant together, and it shall be a testimony before me and thee. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or shalt take other wives besides my daughters, even Elohim shall be a witness between me and thee in this matter. So, and think about how funny that is. Laban, you worshiping and doing your own thing, but yet you making a covenant, talking about some Yah be witness that you ain't gonna afflict my daughters and take no other wives. Basically, put them on the back burner. Like, dude, you down here looking for images. Like, that kind of reminds me of kind of how this thing go today too, with woke Israelites and Christians. It's like, I was talking to some cats the other day that they ain't really no Israelites, they ain't no Christians either. They kind of under the Kemetic 5%er type of move. And it was funny because as they were talking to me, like part of what they were saying I can agree with, but another lot of what they were saying was kind of like, yeah, no, that ain't what's up though. And that just kind of reminded me of how Laban moving now. You down here mad about images, which is the skull of a son that you might done killed. Like high level wickedness, but you make a covenant in the name of Yah. And you kind of get that. You even see that in the church now, right? With, in the church as this thing that got, you catch a lot of our people who still into Christianity and the religious doctrine, even Islam. You catch a lot of our people now to where to be, there's still Sunday worship and Christmas and all of that, but they may use the name of Yah now. Some really more Yahweh, but you'll catch Yah now. You'll catch some using the name of Yeshua instead of Jesus now. But they still not, but they still want to worship and do their own thing, other thing, right? It kind of remind me of what Laban is doing now. There are examples of people who kind of move like this now. Verse 2, it says, and they took stones and made a heap, and Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and thee. Therefore he called the name thereof Gilead. And we know this place to be, and maybe that's why the Gileadites, because the Gileadites were, like I said, they were either Ephraim or Manasseh. So when they called them Gileadites, it was talking about this area where they were at. Gilead. It says, and Jacob and Laban offered a sacrifice upon the mount, and they ate there by the heap, and they tarried in the mount all night. And Laban rose up early in the morning, and he wept with his daughters, he kissed them, and he returned unto his place. And he hastened and sent off his son Beor, who was 17 years old, with Abechoroth, the son of Uz. This probably is Deborah's brother, because she's the daughter of Uz. Mind you, keep in mind, Deborah is here for all of this. And that's why I'm saying, I know she pulling Jacob to the side like, boy, this is what your brother got going on back at home. Esau with your daddy now, man. What's going on up here with you? I can't wait to get back and tell your mama how your uncle was up here moving, man. The son of Nahor, and with them were 10 men. So he sent them off, Laban did. And they hastened and went and passed on the road before Jacob, and they came by another road to the land of Seir. So this is Laban's children. They go to the land of Seir. And they went to Esau and said unto him, thus say thy brother and relative, thy mother's brother, Laban, the son of Bethuel, saying, hast thou heard what Jacob thy brother has done unto me, who first came to me naked and bare? And I went to meet him and brought him to my house with honor, and I made him great, and I gave think I made him great. That's something else you see people do today. Laban ain't made Jacob great. Jacob done made you great. But now he like, I done gave him honor, brought him in my house, made him great. And I gave him my 2 daughters for wives through trickery and also 2 of my maids. And Elohim blessed him on my account. Really? Dude, you got whole idols in the house that you praying to for healing with demons talking to you. You talk about something, but Yah blessed him on my account. And he increased abundantly and had sons, daughters, and maidservants. He also an immense stock of flocks and herds, camels and asses, also silver and gold in abundance. He playing like Jacob, rich, which is crazy because we know he going back to Isaac, which is Yitzchak, who is rich. Yah done blessed him 100-fold, it said, on top of what Abraham had, which was ridiculous already. And when he saw that his wealth increased, he left me while I went to shear my sheep, and he rose up and fled in secrecy. Now think. So this tells us a few things, and we're trying to get this down to the end. This tells us a few things, right? One thing this tells us right here is Laban knows about the situation with Esau. He even know where Esau at. Show you how it's funny. We talk about the age of information with social media and the internet and how information fly, but I still don't discredit the power of word of mouth because he know where Esau at. He know the situation and all that. Now, when he go tell Esau he left in secrecy and took this and took that and took my daughters and took all my wealth, what you think the first thing Esau said was, man, that Negro did the same thing to me. I can't wait to catch him. You know, Esau was like, I can't wait to catch him. He got you too? Man, dude, hey, look, I already made a vow. As soon as my daddy died, he out of here. He going around because I can see Esau saying the same thing. Not even admitting, well, you know, I was out in the field hunting and I didn't really care for the birthright. I came and sold it for some soup, and you know what I mean? Just like Laban ain't saying, well, you know, I was really being slick and it backfired. You see, I can see them because that's what people do, right? Whenever you catch 2 people who claim they don't like you, even if they was both wrong, when they get together, you was this and you was that. Neither one of them say, well, you know, I did steal something from Ak and he don't want to speak to me. No, they don't say that. They go say, well, I got a little money now. He be acting funny. And then when they get together, is he did that to you too? And blah, 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 blah. And then you get with the person who you hear all this about, and it's like, man, dude was over here stealing, and she was woo, woo, woo. And I had to cut them people off. They was messing up my house. I've seen that so many times, man, get around some people and they talk about somebody like a dog, man. This person is, this person that, and then I get around that person and it'd be a whole nother story. That's our people. That's so funny. So I just hear Esau saying, yeah, he got me too, man. Just hold on. I got him though. Verse 60, and he lifted his wives and his children up on camels and he led away all his cattle. You mad about that cattle? His cattle. What you mad about his cattle for? And property which he acquired in my land, and he lifted up his countenance to go to his father Yitzchak to the land of Canaan. He trying to find a way to get that back. That just let me know he like, I got to keep him here as long as I need, man. Even though he came up, I'm gonna find a way to get some of that back. Probably gonna tell him before, if he would have been there to leave, he probably was gonna tell him, well, you know, to leave here with my daughters and your children, I need you to pay me XYZ. For using my land, raising your cattle, feeding your kids, even though they my daughters, them your wives, they your responsibility once they become your wives. That's probably what he had in his mind. It says, and he did not suffer me to kiss my daughters and their children, and he led my daughters as captives, taken by the sword, and he also stole my gods. Now think, Esau know your code. Esau know for a fact your code ain't stole no gods and no images, no worship. Now, he may not say it to him, but Esau like, yeah, right, bro, done studied all under Noah. I mean, under Shem. He ain't stole no gods from you. I know he ain't did that. He just like, that's part why I don't feel him, because he act too much like my daddy and my granddad. But he just going along with it, because they both, what did it say? The enemy, what did they say? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. They kind of under that type of act. And now I have left him in the mountain in the brook of Jabbok. He tell him where he at. Him and all belonging to him. He lacked nothing. Basically putting him on. You should go take that. If it be thy wish to go to him, go then, and there wilt thou find him, and thou can do unto him as thy soul desire. And Laban's messengers came and told Esau all these things. So Laban, still being slick, sent his sons to go to Esau to tell him that about Yaakov. And Esau heard all the words of Laban's messengers, and his anger was greatly kindled against Yaakov. And he remembered his hatred, and his anger burned within him. And Esau hastened and took his children and servants and the souls of his household, being 60 men. So he came 60 deep. And he went and assembled all the children of Seir, the Horite, which means cave dweller, troglodyte, and their people being 340 men. And he took all this number of 400 men with drawn swords, and he went unto Yaakov to smite him. So they come deep. We don't know how deep Yaakov is, but he got his boys now as young men. And he got manservants and maidservants. So I'm sure there's quite a few of them as well. And Esau divided this number into several parts, and he took the 60 men of his children, the servants, and the souls of his household as one head, and gave them in care of Eliphaz, his eldest son. Remember his name, Eliphaz, because as we go through these stories and the interactions with Esau and Yaakov, his name's going to come up quite a bit. The eldest son. And the remaining heads he gave to the care of the 6 sons of Seir, the Horite. So he kept all his kids, though. Everybody else, he had the 6 sons of Seir. Y'all go follow y'all. They gonna lead y'all into this battle or whatnot. And he placed every man over his generations and children. But think about how Esau did that. No, I'm gonna keep my kids and everybody in my household with me. You Horite split up into 6, y'all own people, but we gonna move together. But y'all can only lead your own people. You can't lead no Edomites. That's the pride of a Shemite that you see today. And the whole of this camp went as it was. And Esau went amongst them toward Yaakov, and he conducted them with speed. And Laban's messengers departed from Esau and went to the land of Canaan. And they came to the house of Rivkah, the mother of Yaakov and Esau. Remember, this said this was Laban's son, so this is Rivkah's nephew. And they told her, saying, behold, thy son Esau has gone against his brother Yaakov with 400 men, for he heard that he was coming. And he is going to make war with him and to smite him and to take all that he has. So think about how slick Laban is. Look, first y'all go tell Esau, then go tell Rivkah. He just being crafty. and I'm not sure which one of y'all had just said, but he is acting just like Esau. Crafty, slick. But we see the father gonna step in, right? It says, and Rivkah hastened and sent 72 men from the servants of Yitzchak to meet Yaakov on the road. For she said, peradventure, Esau may make war in the road when he meets him. So she sent 72 servants of Yitzchak. So first off, they love him. More than likely, they've been around at least as young men in the time of Abraham. They love him. I'm going to go on limb and say that these 72 servants that she sent is some bad men too. Probably the coldest that they got around. Like, look, don't go pick no fight with my other son, but don't go let him touch Jacob in no kind of way. She ain't sent no chumps because she know Esau. So I'm sure she went back there to the mightiest of the shepherds and hunters that's around them. Like, look, and they love him anyway, though. You feel me? Like, they probably like, it's whatever. We don't really be feeling Esau anyway, man. Him and his wives be around here tripping. Shalom, Lord. It says, and these messengers went on the road to meet Yaakov, and they met him in the road of the brook on the opposite side of the brook, Jabbok. And Yaakov said, when he saw them, this camp is destined to me from Elohim. So it says, and these messengers went on the road to meet Yaakov. And they met him on the road on the brook, on the opposite side of the brook, Jabbok. And Yaakov said, when he saw them, this camp is destined to me from Elohim. And Yaakov called the name of that place Machnaim. now we see Jacob acknowledging the birthright, the covenant. This is what's been promised to my father and my father's father. This is what's been promised to my lineage. He claimed this place. Hallelujah. And Jacob knew all his father's people, and he kissed them and embraced them and came with them. And Jacob asked them concerning his father and mother, and they said they are well. So now he knew them, kissed them, embraced them, because he know them too. Like, man, dude been with my father for so long. He know they love him. He know this is his mother trying to make sure that he's okay. And these messengers said unto Jacob, Rivkah thy mother has sent us to thee, saying, I have heard, my son, that thy brother Esau has gone forth against thee on the road with men from the children of Seir, the Horite. And therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, and see with thy counsel what thou wilt do. And when he come up to thee, supplicate him, and do not speak rashly to him, and give him a present from what thou possess, and from what Elohim has favored thee with. And when he asks thee concerning thy affairs, conceal nothing from him. Perhaps he may turn from his anger against thee, and thou wilt thereby save thy soul, thou and all belonging to thee. For it is thy duty to honor him, for he is thy elder brother. You did steal the birthright. I mean, you did kind of step in kind of slick and get the blessing. He sold you the birthright. We get it. But y'all done blessed you. And remember, we read a few chapters back and said that Esau had been blessed in the things that he had been doing too, but not like you. So when he come, just give him some of all of this. Plus what you need with it anyway. You got the birthright. You got the blessing coming from your daddy, and your daddy still 10 times richer than you. Matter of fact, give him all of this. You don't need none of this. Your mom and them just want you back with these kids. They want to see their grandbabies by you. Give him all of this. Really? You can give him all of this. And when Jacob heard the words of his mother, which the messengers had spoke. So now this Rivkah telling him that, look, we did do what we did. It was the right thing. You don't really need none of that from them, man. Your daddy got cattle and sheep and money and all that for days. You know, let your brother have whatever he want. And maybe that'll make him step down or stand down on the fact that and we understand that when Yitzchak played this blessing on Jacob, the blessing is the covenant. Y'all gonna get his land to your children. But in Esau's mind, it's, oh, he gonna took all my money my daddy was gonna give me. And the mama, knowing her son, would know that. So she like, just give him what you got. I hear you got a lot. It says, and when Jacob heard the words of his mother, which the messengers had spoken to him, Jacob lifted up his voice and wept bitterly, and did as his mother had commanded him. So you know that he listened to his mother, who was right, a righteous woman. But this is just furthering the interactions with Jacob and Esau. And we got a long way to go, because it's gonna be wars fought between Esau and Jacob's son. Like this actually gets pretty action packed after this. But hallelujah. Anybody want to add to that? I was just trying to get to the chapter 31. We made it in a decent time. Told out for all of the comments and everything everybody that made thus far too. But this shows the interaction between Esau, most definitely Aki. This shows the interactions between Esau and Jacob, and this also can shed light kind of on the interactions between not just Esau but the world, because Esau don't represent the whole world. But this also sheds light on the interactions between the world, as we kind of brought up earlier with Laban also, and the lost sheep of Israel today. It's kind of the same thing. And even Revelation talks about the Antichrist making war, or maybe not even Antichrist, but the woman on the beast making war with the saints, which is kind of representation of how Esau is doing this. And like you came here, I was saying earlier about the kids, and we seeing certain things that go on that happen with the children and the wives. We've seen the beginning of it, even with this interaction with Esau and Jacob. We're seeing the beginning of the relationship and how it's going to continue to go with them. And from this time, a just like the seed of Ishmael, because the not the seed, but the Muslims, they talk about how the covenant was taken. Supposedly in the Quran somewhere it says the covenant was taken from Israel because of something they did and given back to Ishmael, which shows that because I don't believe those people to be descendants of Ishmael, at least not all of them, but they liken the teaching to Ishmael. And you see in the teaching that they liken to Ishmael. I don't know that those are actual teachings from Ishmael, but see how it's still about getting the covenant back. We see that with Esau from this time on, from Ishmael's death on with his children. Because if I'm not mistaken, when Jacob gets sold into slavery, he's sold to some Ishmaelites who take him down to Egypt. When we get to Judges, it's points where they talk about Ishmaelites having Israel in servitude to them. But even going thousands of years later, when we get to the time of the Messiah, Herod and the Edomites have through Rome have set up a kingly line. It's Edomite kings down over Galilee and all of that, which is Esau getting the covenant back for our father. This was our land. Y'all stole this land. That's why we don't care about oppressing you and watching these Romans run y'all out of here, because we're in league with them and they're putting us in our rightful position. And we see that today with us on the bottom. The way these nations on a worldly level, the way these nations have taken pride in ruling over the sons and daughters of Zion. It's kind of like the same thing. This is our rightful place. You've heard stories of slave owners will use the Bible to say, God done chose me to rule over you. Like it's always been about people trying to have a rightful rulership over Israel, but we understand that only Yah rules Israel. And even though it gets tough at the time, he gonna make it make sense in the end. Anything anybody want to say or add, or any comments, questions, anything about any of that? We kind of read a lot in here today. And once again, told our Rabbi for all the comments from everybody.
Shalom, Mark. I just wanted to say this real quick. I just looked up the word violator. Mm-hmm. In Latin, it means to break an oath. Mm-hmm. And something that I had come across with a sister named Mira, we had looked at it one time, and like every violation, it can go back to the 10 Commandments. Every last one, even the things that Hasatan has done, it brings. You can go get the 10 Commandments, and you can see, oh, they violated this one. Mm-hmm. Bearing false witness. Coveting. True. Bearing false witness, lying, coveting, wanting something that's not yours, breaking the oath to get it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you murder in there. Murder gonna come. You're gonna dishonor your parents because your parents told you, Rivka told you not to do this stuff, right? And so all of these things, like this is why we are the people of the book. We are the Commonwealth. We are the people of the book. And you have to always hold up the 10 Commandments. And people think, oh, that sounds, it sounds archaic. Just like when you tell people, when we've been in the walk for a minute, we don't even want to look back at Deuteronomy 28 no more. But we don't even want to look back at Exodus 20 odd?
Yeah.
Deuteronomy, 5 or 7? Deuteronomy 5?
All of it, really.
The 10 Commandments. We don't want to look back at that. We don't want to look back at it like this is the only way that you're going to be able to be redeemed. be to be and I shouldn't say redeemed, to be resurrected.
Mhm.
You keep these 10 commandments. These people violated the 10 commandments. They knew all of this stuff was going on. Everybody was an audience to Abraham. Abraham was major news. And now we're dealing with his great grandchildren, which are, starts from Reuben and ends at Benjamin, right? This is major news, man. These people know these people have got the blessing. They already know it. They try to play like they don't know it. My band director used to tell us, pliking, stop pliking like you practiced last night with your horn. You didn't even play like it. He said, stop pliking. You pliking. Everybody try to play like they don't like, I don't know. Pharaoh did it. He tried to pull it off like, I don't know these people. All these people know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Just because people don't acknowledge the 10 Commandments, they look at it, they laugh at it, it sounds archaic. You hold on to it because this will be the government ruling the world. These 10 core things are going to be ruling the world in the millennium and forever. We won't have to worry about it after the millennial kingdom in the eighth day. We've achieved righteousness and we, are fully unified with Yahuwah. But in that 1,000-year reign, this is what's going to be. This is the hammer. This is the rod of iron. Rod that this is the 10 Commandments. People break that. We coming for them. We coming for them. They're not going to get no rain. They're going to be destroyed. They're going to be adjudicated as sinners. They're going to be destroyed off the face of the earth. That's what he tells us in Deuteronomy chapter 6. I will take you off of the face of the earth. So if he tells his first begotten son, I'm going to take you off the face of the earth, right? What do you think he's going to tell the rest of the people that are other nations? The same thing. He's not a respecter of persons. And it's going to be some people from the nations like yeah, I'm gonna rock with Yahuwah. I ain't trying to catch that smoke. I saw what he did in this transatlantic slave trade. They're gonna be 500 years from now like, man, we don't want that. We're gonna try to, we know what righteousness is. We got people standing in front of us in Zion that's living righteous. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no, you ain't got to think that what doctrine is it? No, it ain't no other doctrine. Is in Zion because Yahusha is on earth in Zion in Ezekiel's temple running things. You can go see him. You ain't got to hope for him or nothing. You got to have no faith in him. You just go see him and listen to him. And when you hear him speaking, you probably hear him speaking before you even get to the temple complex. You'll hear him speaking. Voice of men. Like, man.
You know what? I got something you just said
Hallelujah.
about the temple in the time of Ezekiel. You can come see him. I'm not even sure if it's going to be a sun and a night and a day at that time, but be that as it may, because we do know that there are going to be other nations around, and they're going to be commanded to come to Sukkot, and if they don't, he's going to keep the rain and things like that. So maybe it's still a sun and a moon at that time. But as you just said that, I just foresaw, like, I don't even think you're going to have to come see him. I think there's going to be a situation to where if you're in Canada, right, and you have any doubt, all you got to do is go look east out your window, and it's just going to be a light at the east at all time, to where you can see it from everywhere in the world. I don't even believe you will have to, because when you look at the specs, and I think it's that temple that Ezekiel is talking about. When you look at like the specs of it, and I could have it confused with the New Jerusalem. I'm not sure if they're the same, but I know when you look at the specs of it, the dimensions that it give, like, it's otherworldly. Something that probably can be seen everywhere unless left on the world is populated, because we know some of these places are going to be destroyed to where nobody's ever even going to populate again. So,
right,
to your point about coming to see them, I don't even think you're going to have to. I think wherever you're at, you're going to be able to look out the window in that vicinity, and you're just going to see a light, and that light is going to be letting you know that things done changed.
But you know how it is. If we can go see the Son of Man, whose blood was shed for our eternal life, most people, just like me and you, we want to see him so bad, right? That ain't gonna be the difference. It don't matter what nationality you from. You're like, man, I gotta go see Yahushua, man. You know, you be like, all this stuff that these people doing as far as having a what do they call it, a Hajj? What do they call that thing with where the Muslims go to Mecca?
Yes.
It ain't nothing on this. People gonna be like driven to get there because remember, the text that's still out is that if you touch the hem of his garment, you're going to be healed. See, people gonna come. They're gonna come to be around his people because we're going to be able to heal. But they just want to be around him because it's an attraction.
Hallelujah.
Attraction because you were from this eternal family. If you were attracted like that, you were known before the foundation of the earth, and you just can't deny it. You're not going to be able. It's an irresistible force, and the doctrine is like it says in 31 Deuteronomy 31 to 32. I think it says in the first couple of verses. It says the doctrine is going to be over the earth like dew. Like everybody gonna know how this thing rolls. Like we know how Christmas get down, we're gonna know how these 10 Commandments get down. Everybody gonna know. It's gonna be like covering everything like dew. Dew is on everything. Every leaf, everything outside is covered with the dew and the rain. Ain't nothing not getting saturated. It's the power of Elohim. His word is sure enough gonna be doing his thing. That's Yahusha. Hallelujah.
No, hallelujah. I agree as well. I agree as well, man. That's a time. That's definitely a time. That's what we're looking forward to. Anything else anybody got before we pray out? What you got, Iman? Isaiah 66, what you reading? Shalom, Elizabeth.
Shalom, Mishpachah. My beloved Mishpachah, I am still on my way home because I don't know if I told y'all the other day when I was sitting in my car during the morning prayer with my prayer group. This lady just came by, one of my coworkers. She stopped at my car and asked me, do you have chickens? I'm like, no, all my sister's chickens got killed by the coyotes. She said, well, do you want some yard eggs? And I had been praying for some yard eggs because I didn't have any. And one of the things I had heard recently was that eggs have a natural, there's something in eggs that fights a lot of what we're dealing with, some of these pestilences that we're dealing with currently. But anyway, the egg prices have gotten outrageous, buying them in the store. But I was like so thrilled that I asked her later on, I said, can I ask you why you asked me if I wanted yard eggs? She said, well, Father just told me. She said, I was going to drop them off at someone and they weren't there. So I asked the Father, what should I do with these eggs? And he told me to ask you. I'm like, well, hallelujah. And I hugged the lady. I said, I don't even know what your name is. She told me her name was Ruth. So I introduced myself and just like I said, thanked her. Well, this evening, I had just gotten in my car at 6:30, about to log in to this meeting, and the lady was passing by, so I waved at her, and she stopped to talk with me And we talked, like I said, it was after 8 o'clock when she went on. And one of the things that, we talked about a lot of things. And obviously the father wanted us to talk because she says she's been searching for truth. And that's one of my sayings all the time: keep seeking truth. And so I praise Almighty God, even though part of me wanted to be here with y'all. I'm really glad that I took the time to get to know her a little bit. And so that's why I was late, said all that to say that. But the reason why I put Isaiah 66:23, because Johnson was saying, just to be in the presence of our Creator, our Savior, our King, is going to be something that we're all going to be able to do, and we're going to want to do. And what y'all were talking about as far as that light that the Father and the Son are going to represent is spoken about in Isaiah 66:23, where it talks about from new moon to new moon and from Sabbath to Sabbath, we're going to meet in that Kodesh mountain. And that's during the millennium. And so, that city that's 1,250 square miles wide and high. I mean, like you said, Akeem, that is, just imagine something that big. And that is, yes, there are nations around, which are going to be the people that we will still be able to witness to during that millennial reign. But we're going to have rooms in that city. It's just that, there's no need to sleep. So why are you going to stay in a room? You're going to go out there and do the will of our Father, hoping to help somebody make the right choice until either the new moon or Shabbat, when we're all going to meet together. And it's like, oh, hallelujah. Can you just imagine? I mean, just a small group at Pesach or Sukkot is a beautiful thing. Imagine all the mishpachah being together at the same time, meeting in the presence of Almighty Yah and His Son, that word. And so I'm sorry, I was driving. I couldn't really put it in at the time that y'all were speaking about it, but that's what came to my mind when y'all were talking about that. We look so forward to that millennial reign, because beyond that, we really don't know what the Father has in store. It's not yet written what's going to happen beyond that 1,000 years. We're not going to sit on clouds playing harps. There's something that He's already, hopefully that 1,000 years is going to prepare us for that time frame that goes beyond that. And hopefully there will be others that we can help to make the choice, even though we know, what Scripture says is that Hasatan, when he's unleashed after that 1,000 years, he's going to be able to convince some to come against us. And unfortunately, just like he was able to convince a third of the Malachim back when, he may convince some in their delusion to come against the city of the Most High. But I'm just looking forward to, 1,000 years is quite a long time for us to live together in that harmonious kingdom I mean, just imagine it. Y'all, just imagine it. Everybody loves Almighty Yah, serves Him, is, we're living righteous, and we are amongst like-minded people who, they love you, they're family. That's just like, I can't even, well, scripture says, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man what Almighty Yah has in store for those that love Him. But that very next verse says, but He has revealed it by His Ruach HaKodesh. So we don't know all the details, but we can only imagine how lovely it's going to be. And so I just, when y'all were talking, I'm just imagining life in the millennial reign, in the presence of Almighty Yah. He says, seek my face. And we say, your face, Almighty Yah, we will seek. That's what we need to be doing right now, is seeking His face, desiring to be in His presence, desiring to obey what He tells us to do, loving Him and each other. That's paradise. That is what we would consider kingdom living. And it's just, beyond imagination. It's just, more glorious than the little part of our brain that we're using. I look forward to the day where my brain explodes, where all of our heads just explode when we are like He is, and we start using the capacity that we were created to do. And it's like, oh, Father, hallelujah. Help us to make it. Help us to be strong enough to overcome the things that are distracting, the things that are, wasting our time. I heard you say, Brother Johnson, one week, you said, what an awful thing to just imagine the Father saying to us, well done, you can enter in, but you could have done more. I have thought about that since then. That is like, oh, Father, please, I don't want that to be said about me. Let me do all that you have created me to do. Reveal your plan and your purpose for my life, and order my steps that I can do it. Cause me to be obedient and not to concern myself what Elizabeth's desires are, but let it be what you desire. Let me decrease so you can increase. Let me be all that you want me to be, so that I bring you no dishonor, but only do what you have. Look, when I look back on my life, I know that He saved me from a devil's hell. I could be dead in my grave, either full of disease, in jail. Anything is possible for what I was doing when I was in the world. And so I'm so grateful. He said, those that have been forgiven much, love much. So I'm that penitent woman that can cry my tears of thankfulness and wash His feet and dry them with my hair, because I know what He's done for me. But I want to do what you said, brother. I want to do the more, all that I could have done, so that He's pleased with me allowing myself to be used for His purposes. And so I was just, like I said, I'm looking forward to what y'all were talking about. You had me in here shouting. It's like, yes, yeah, yes, yeah. I want to be there. I want to participate in what He has for us. Because there's, there those MasterCard commercials. This was great and this was lovely, but this was priceless. The kingdom is priceless. No matter what we have to do, Mishpachah, it doesn't matter. Our life is just a vapor. It's like smoke. I don't care how long you live. And it could be all of our lifetimes put together is just a drop in the ocean compared to eternity. So we look forward to being set apart from this world, to be perfect as he's perfect, to be Kodesh as he's Kodesh, and that we can be pleasing in his sight, completing what he has for us to do. And all I can say is hallelujah and to
Hallelujah.
hallelujah.
Oh yeah, Cody.
Hallelujah, Iman. That was inspirational. And you know what? To hear you talk about this person who told you they looking for truth and all that, we gonna be in prayer about that. And you made me think of the flock is plenty, but the laborers are few. Y'all done brought you a sheep.
That's right. That's right. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. And guess what? She is definitely a believer. Yes, she's got some truth to learn, as we all do. Okay. But she's searching. And the thing that I love about it is that she said that the Father led her to me, to give me those eggs. That was just the open door to get us to have a relationship with one another. And I praise him for that. I praise him completely for just putting us together, because when you pray and ask him, Father, use me for your esteem. Help me, Almighty, to be the light that you want me to be. Cause me to be the salt of the earth that causes people to thirst for that water of life that's supposed to pour out of my belly. When we pray for that, he is going to answer and do things like that, to put a Ruth in Elizabeth's life, and to and I want y'all to know, praise Almighty, in front of my door. He brought me home safely. Thank you, Father. But when you pray and ask for those things, don't be surprised when he does that. And so her name is Ruth. Please keep her in your prayers. And hopefully she's going to be open to truth. Because the first thing I asked her was, if you believe, and I have my little pocket size version of the scriptures I keep in my car. And I said, when you believe what's written in this book, that's the foundation of what you or whomever should base their belief system on. Man-made religion is all man-made, and we have to realize that it is not the doctrine of men. It is the word of Almighty Yah that we have to understand. How in the world, and y'all know this, no matter who you listen to, whether it's an Dre, a brother, an Aki Johnson, a brother Isaac, who was my pastor before his passing. Anybody who we listen to, if you don't know what the book says for yourself, how are you going to be able to differentiate what is truth when someone is presenting what is supposed to be truth? So we have to, who said it? We have to be the people of the book. That is going to differentiate us from all the other people groups. We've got to be the set apart believers that are the people of the book, those that are building line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, not what we want scripture to say, but what it actually says, understanding it in the terms that it was written, the way he meant what he said and he said what he meant. It's just that because our scriptures have been, what's the word? Tainted. And we have been, they've been distorted to for people to try to present their twist, what scripture says, scripture, they twist it to their own destruction. So how will we know if they're twisting the word or if it's actually correct if we're not studying to show ourselves approved unto Almighty Yah? Workmen need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So like I told Ruth, I said, I struggle with this position that I have. I'm grateful for my job. I truly am. But I struggle with it because what I'd rather do is be about my Father's business on a full-time basis. And I have it before the Father. Lead me, Father. Show me. I could live without this job. I could take care of myself. But, I need to know if, I've had, I don't know if y'all remember when I was so-called semi-retired. I was like, was I getting up every day, being about my Father's business? Or was I watching Turner Classic Movies, when wasting time? It wasn't like I was doing anything that was wrong, but that's just a waste of time.
True.
And so, you're right. So, is it that I truly want to have that? Not that I did that 24/7, because I do have ministries with my daughters, and the women's prayer, and the uh, more than likely 6 out of the 7 morning prayers, I'm there. Anytime there is um, a request that I pray, I will do so. Any one of y'all are able to call me or send me a text and say, just put some praying hands, or I don't have to know the details, but I will lift you up. When I do pray, you'd be surprised who the Father will put on my heart. But I'm talking about being steadfast and immovable, always abounding in the work of Almighty Yah. Was I doing that when I was semi-retired? No. And so I need direction, and I need the Father to show me clearly. So that's my prayer request for y'all, to pray for me. And if any one of you have desires that, I pray for, definitely pray for you, Akeem, because I pray for men, because y'all are in position over women, and that's just a fact. And I pray for the sisterhood, and I pray that we can help each other to be what we're supposed to be, and not like women of the world. We need to understand our position. And I pray for the Mishpachah. I pray for congregations all around the world. I pray for the unity of the body, that Ephesians 4, one man, every joint supplying, each one doing their part. Okay, and I know that we have differences of opinion about leadership, but the scriptures say, and he gave apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. Why? For the edification. So I'm not here to preach to the choir. I do love y'all. I am glad that I caught part of the Zoom call this evening. Like I said, I'm getting home much later than I typically do, but I'm off tomorrow and I was off yesterday. So all is well. I'm not complaining one bit for being able to talk with Ruth. But I think we all, if we don't pray for one another, we're being we're not doing like Brother Johnson said, the all that we can do, because we're commanded, love Almighty Yah with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor, our mishpachah, as ourselves. And so, if you love somebody, you only want the best for them. And that's what we should be praying about. Help us, Almighty Yah, to be the best that we can be, to help each other, to grow and strive and thrive as a family, as a body. One man, one bride, one body under Mashiach.
Mm.
And, think about it. We can't be, what is community? It's like communal unity, right? Where everybody has the same mindset. And the only way we're going to do that is to be the people of the book, help each other with some differences are so petty. What difference does it make with some things, like whether or not I've been in debates, which we're not supposed to do, of whether or not the earth is round or the earth is flat. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter to your salvation.
True.
And one day we're going to find out. Now, I have my own opinion, and I believe that scripture supports it. But if you don't agree with what I believe, okay, so let's agree to disagree. Does not matter. But things like what we're supposed to eat, the feast that we're supposed to keep, even if we don't all do it on the same date, those are things we can work out, because we're going to be taught during the millennial reign. Nobody's going to have it all the way right. And so we can't let those things separate us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, not trying to preach to the choir. All I'm trying to do is love Abba, love his word, and love Yah. And I pray, Almighty, just help us all to get to that place so that we do not hear, but you could have done more. That is such an awful, I have been thinking about that ever since you said that, Aki. And I don't want to hear that. That is just one of those frightening thoughts. So anyway, y'all, I do love you. Much ahava. Thank you so much for being who you are. And as we grow together, I just learn to love you more. So hallelujah. All praise to the Most High.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Mm.
Definitely in prayer for you, Emo.
Thank you.
No question
Thank
about
you.
it. You came, y'all. What's going on?
Yeah, just wanted to just say peace and blessings to Iman, and that's the thing. People say, well, what do I need to do? Do I need to have a platform or music or whatever? Or he says, he'll draw all men to you. Of course, that's all souls, all people.
Right.
He's gonna draw those people to you. And I just wanted to look at Revelation chapter 20, and understanding that when you see that the chapter 20 verse 14, when you see when you read in Revelation that they're standing around the throne saying Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. Now what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Why keep saying Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh to Yah? Because he is the holy, the most holy, the most righteous. We've done sin on earth that he never imagined. So now what he's telling us in verse 14, this is what he has to do before he comes back to earth. He's not going to come back to an earth that's got all kinds of stuff going on. So in the millennial kingdom, Yahusha's here, but Yah is not here yet with the 4 square city. That city that's 1,200 miles long, 1,200 miles high. It's 183,000 stories high.
Wow.
That's how big this building is, this city, right?
So that comes down after the millennial reign?
That comes down after he's judged us. So see, he's judged already. He's already judged. He's judged. The white throne judgment has already occurred, and he's
Mhm.
thrown in verse 14 of chapter 20, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. So he's cast death into the lake of fire, along with all of the sinners. So death is gone.
Uh-huh.
Anyone that's going into the lake of fire after death has been cast into the lake of fire, they can't die in the lake of fire. I don't know if y'all catch on to
Okay.
what I'm saying. They can't die.
Interesting.
So they just can't die. They're going to be perpetual, right?
Mm.
Existing in this punishment. And he's also taken Sheol, which is the place, and he's dumped it into the lake of fire with the punishment of the angels. The lake of fire was made for them.
Right.
So now when you jump into 21, you see a new heaven and a new earth come down,
Correct.
right? And the
Mm-hmm.
first earth and the first heaven were passed away, and there was no more sea. So we don't have any seas on the earth anymore. And I, John, saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem. Now, what you got to understand about the holy city is inside the holy city is the tree of life.
Right. And the river.
It will not exist on earth with death existing on earth at the same time. Do you see what I'm saying? Because that's the
Yes.
reason cast us out of the garden, because if we would eat of the tree of life after we had sinned, we would be living perpetual sin forever. Do y'all remember that?
Yes.
So that's what he's doing now. He's saying, like, the holy city coming down from Yahuwah from heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice, and tabernacle of Yahuwah is with men, and he will dwell with them. See, he's dwelling with us now because he's got a renewed earth. The earth has been through its baptism, its renewal. The heaven has been through its baptism, its renewal. It's rebirthed. He still calls it earth, and he still calls it the Shamayim. So it's the same, just like I'm the same person, even though I'm reborn, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And they shall be his people, and Yahuwah himself shall be with them, and their Elohim. And then he wipes away all tears, and and all of the rest of it is just basically just where all things are made new. There is another echelon when he brings the four square city down. So he's bringing this city down to the earth. We have to be on earth because we got to go through the 12 gates.
Right.
So we're going to see this city come down on earth. And we're going to go into our gate, our respective gate, with the 12 foundations. And just like the 144,000, I gave that to you, brother. I don't really want to get into that right now, but I don't know if you caught any of that, but we are the 144,000. It's not a set number. It is the righteous that keep covenant, that follow the Lamb wherever he goes, that are from the 12 tribes and the families that are associated with the 12 tribes. That's anybody that's going to keep covenant. That's who.
Hallelujah.
And so that's and so the tree of life and will not exist on earth when there's death and destruction on earth. He has to renew the earth because the earth fell into it fell by Adam's choice. Now it's going to be resurrected. Resurrected is going to be saved, as it says over in Romans, I think 5:2, 5:12. That chapter 5 is talking about, since it fell from Adam, it's going from one man. It's going to be since death came by one man, salvation comes by Yahusha.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this stuff is just building up, and and there is another level. Like, we're living in the 1,000-year reign, and we're being taught about the kingdom. And then there's another level when Yahuwah brings the temple down and all things are new. He didn't say some things. all things are new. There is a whole nother level of Yah.
Hallelujah.
It's not even,
Hallelujah. That's
not
right.
even, not even something that I don't even know it. I just know he says all things new, so it ain't gonna be anything in this book. So this book is about a whole lot of us getting back to him. Now he's got everybody cleared out of the way. Now he can bless his family.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Good point, Aki. Good point, Aki. Hallelujah. And
Yes,
yeah, it's
indeed.
correct. At the judgment, man, that's kind of about as far as the book go. And it you know, it doesn't really explain like how forever will be. I'm sure it's probably beyond explanation that a man would even understand. Is probably why it's like that as well. But hallelujah. Yahakanan, I seen your hand. I remember what I had to tell you too. It just dawned on me. If you're still there, you still got something, Yahakanan?
Shalom. That's beautiful, actually, just what you just spoke about. But I was just gonna say, just to kind of piggyback off both things, actually, a little bit, and then add my own just insights to it. In terms of in terms of just the people being the body, yes, we are. And we do all need to definitely be a light to others and bring them in and talk to others, and no matter, get them to see. That's part of our job. That's what we're here to do. But in terms of when we see all these different groups and factions coming along, I just wanted to be clear. Yes, we are meant to fellowship. Yes, we are all a part of the bodies, and we all have something to add. And we definitely should never be arguing over feast days and things like that, and then times and what things that are insignificant. I think Yeshua said it best when he said, "I am not the teacher. My Father is the teacher, and He will give you all things by Spirit, by that Holy Ruach, the Ruach Hakodesh." And so, if you're inquiring after Him and truly seeking Him in righteousness, He's going to teach you all things. But in terms of these factions and groups, just like there will be prophets to come out and definitely people that are going to teach his word, I'm not saying that, but there also are false prophets, and we need to be careful. He says, how can two walk together lest they agree? And I'm not just saying agree about feast days and different things that are trivial and fables and this sort of thing. But I mean, in terms of agreeing to do his will and do his work and honor his covenant. We have to know these people and discern them rightfully. Just part of that rightfully discerning the word in 2 Timothy is actually being a righteous judge and not being afraid to stand on his word. And when you see fruits of people bearing them out and they're not correct and righteous, or not walking, when their mouth is saying one thing, but their actions are speaking another, a double-minded man, and man is unstable in all his ways. And we have to be cognizant of that. And we have to stand in righteousness and stand on his word at all time and be those righteous judges. And amen, let him separate us unto himself. And definitely not be afraid to, when we see these things that are in error, not do things like show favor to men instead of actually standing on what is right, and come out of these factions if we see they are incorrect or they are leading people down a bad path. So I just wanted to be clear on that. And but yes, always we are the body and we are meant to come together as one, and he'll bring us together. He's going to do that. He's already has us on his threshing floor and separating us unto himself and teaching us what he needs to know. So we definitely need to be on that, and always being in prayer and making sure, and fasting and making sure that we are asking him what is his will. Because I don't see that always happening. People tend to lean to their own understanding more than they are asking the Father truly, what is your will? What I mean, I can't say that enough. Even in my own life, just constantly. That's one thing I see in the word that people did differently that we don't do, is they leaned on him for everything. Anytime they had any question about anything, should I go this way? Should I go that way? Should I go to this land? I'm in a place where I'm weary. I don't know what this is. We don't have water. They prayed about everything. We don't necessarily do that in this day and age. So that needs to be more of a constant. And I just wanted to say that. Shalom, everyone.
Hallelujah. That was excellent.
Yes, hallelujah.
That was excellent.
To your point, Yahakanan, about us being the body and whatnot. That's why we pray that Yah fills us with the Ruach HaKodesh, because there are some things that's just like, whatever. We can agree to disagree. There are other things to where it's like, yeah, I don't know what that's about. And like you said about praying and all things, we just got to trust the Father to put us in the right spot, to make sure we understand. Because it's even different than just doctrine, though. Like, a lot of this awakening is done through Zoom, right? So, like, we also need the Father to show us the character of the men and women that we around as well, because in a lot of instances we don't even know each other personally like that. So I get what you're saying, but I just agree with what you're saying as far as praying in all things and just letting the Father guide us in all those things, and that's just part of the trial and tribulation of this, because even in situations that have been indifferent, I'll say, even for me, it was still something that I learned in every situation. So how can I not really call it a blessing still? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, we got to just trust the Father, like you say, in all things to show us what to do. He does tell us to be on guard against a false prophet, but we also have to be, it's a difference between a false prophet and somebody who just was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody could be wrong and come back and be like, I said that to you, I was wrong, such and such. That don't make that person a false prophet. But then you got some people who make double, triple, quadruple down, don't want to hear wise counsel. And, so we just got to be grounded really in the word of Yah, and allow him to guide us. We all got different things that we trying to, that's kind of what I see a lot of times coming from the streets into the awakening and not out of church. What I see is a lot of time church folks that I see that I've talked to that come into the awakening, it's actually harder for them to come out of the church than it is to come out of the streets. And the reason why I say that is because it's not hard for me to realize I can't be selling dope. I can't be a whoremonger. I can't be treating my woman any kind of way. It's easier to see that. It's harder to see church mentality, groupthink, the way the church gossip, and that's cool, cliques in the church. I see it be harder for some people to see that because it's not, it's not as in your face as I gotta stop shooting at these niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be doing that. I know I can't be stealing from nobody. It's harder to see, I shouldn't even say church, but just like religious things, because a lot of times, a person may come out of the church, may not have even been a person, but it's just the doctrine. So I see it being harder to come away from certain aspects of that. Now, that doesn't make that person a false prophet either. That just, a person just wrong. And everybody grow up. I shouldn't say everybody grow, because Yah brings us closer to him all of us at a different speed. I think part of that is what we pour into this too. And that goes to my point about this being through Zoom. Like, we all talk on here, right? We don't, I done met some of y'all personally though, but all of y'all don't know me personally. So like, only the Ruach HaKodesh can tell you all who have not met me personally if I really am who I advertise myself to be on here. And meeting on Zoom, that's why we got to rely on the Ruach HaKodesh, because some things are harder to sniff out. Like, I've been around certain situations where it wasn't until I started to be around people personally that I realized, like, nah, such and such ain't really like they portray when they on them Zooms. But like I say, it's something even to be learned in that. And when Yah's teaching you, even in that is a blessing. So, and we still pray for people as well, because like I say, a person can just be wrong. It doesn't make them wicked. It doesn't make them a false prophet. Some people just wrong. Some people just haven't figured some things out, you know? That's also a reason to give thanks that Yah has put us, put you, put me, put whoever, um, in a position to do that. Um, I'm gonna take your hand. You came out, and I'm gonna pray out. It's getting late, and I gotta go eat. And
Yeah,
shalom, Mike Johnson. I see you in here.
I'm gonna say this real quick. Ezekiel 4:13, and Yahuwah said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. And so what happens, what you're really talking about is the defiled bread. So people are eating defiled bread, and they're used to that consumption. And that bread is going to give you some things in life, but it doesn't lead you into eternal life, right? It's not going to give you the bread of life, because that's what the bread is. The bread is called bread of life. So the defiled bread is definitely not going to give you life. And so that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with different things. And I put another thing in there, Romans, about marking them that don't follow the doctrine. So all of these things are about, changing the appetite to eating the righteous bread of life, which is basically just reading the Bible, y'all. You read the Bible and nobody can tell you a whole bunch of lies. They
That,
can't tell you lies.
that's
They
another
just,
big part of it.
that's
But
all.
to your point, that goes to what I'm saying about church. So, like, see, and it was a blessing for me. By me not coming out of a church and, you know, being partial with the Bible, I guess is a nice way to speak about the doctrine of religion. By me not coming into that, as soon as y'all started to put it on my heart, I knew in the dough I had to read the Bible, because I didn't have that. So when we come out of religion, some people have things that have felt right, maybe kind of panned out, that you're still trying to put aside coming out of religion. And this is my opinion, but I watch people who come out of the church and people who come out of the streets. It's a different struggle when they come into this truth. And I see people who come out of the church struggle more, because the things that they do wrong aren't as egregious as what you've been doing if you've been in the streets. You see what I'm saying? Like, I know for a fact I can't be playing with guns no more reckless. Like, don't nobody got to tell you that's wrong. Sometimes somebody might have to tell you, like, no, we in the truth. No, we don't gossip like that. If you got to all with that person, you go do it. See, that's church thing. But it's harder to see that. See, in the streets, you can't gossip, because gossip in the street will get you killed.
So what you said really is subtlety that Satan used in the garden.
It's the subtlety. That's the word I've been looking for. And I see it being, and not in all things, nothing is 100%. Everybody struggle in a different way, but it's just harder to see, in my opinion, people who come from that, because you have not been, you've been wrong, but you ain't been foul. See, coming out of the streets, I knew, like, I've been foul. You might just be wrong, but ain't realized you've been foul. And that's why we got to pray for one another. This Bible ain't made no mistakes when it say pray without ceasing, pray for one another, because y'all know that.
That's right.
He know that.
It's almost like Rachel. She knew she was covered by Yaakov, but she still held on to her idols. And she didn't see anything wrong with it, because they were their familiar spirit, their family, their family deities.
Exactly.
So it's like, this is what I've been doing, and I'm gonna mix this and that, and I'm gonna have more power, double power than what y'all. You don't know what she was thinking, but it was much harder for her to see it. And she said, "I'm from the bloodline. Our family is all same family. I can't be that bad. I ain't like no Philistine." You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. So it just go like that. And that's why we pray for one another. And like I said, though, to both Iman and Koti point, being wrong don't make you a false prophet. You know what I mean? So that's really the discernment. Was a person just wrong? didn't get it, made a mistake. We got to be forgiving. We got to be long suffering and showing love and kindness and all that. It's different than that in some of these more egregious doctrines, and we just standing on it. And I don't care what you say, and I don't care what you show me in scripture. See, that's a different mentality. So it's a trial and tribulation type thing, but we continue to pray for y'all to give us the Ruach HaKodesh. And as long as we are doing our best, because we might be wrong. I might be wrong. I wake up every day knowing that it's a good chance that I did some things wrong, but I'm trying to put my best foot forward every day. And I believe
Yes.
that's why Yah be showing me what he be showing me, because even if I'd have been wrong, he know by knowing my heart that I am trying. And I also agree with what the Ema said earlier too. I'll be on the same thing, Ema. I wouldn't even kick myself about that. Every day I'll be thinking, and you see the things that I'm doing, and every day I'll be thinking like, man, I could do a little more. I could have did a little more. I could have dedicated a few more minutes yesterday. Maybe I shouldn't have watched that movie after working and Ariel and after the read. Like I may watch a movie tonight and I'll wake up in the morning thinking like I should have read some more Torah till I went to sleep. So it happens, but I know, y'all know that I ain't playing though. Even if I may be wrong, he know I'm not playing. And that's the start of y'all, of y'all giving us because it all comes from y'all, like the discernment, the understanding, the wherewithal, the focus. But we just have to put a foot forward to show that we really about that, man. And I think it'll be what it's supposed to be.
Hallelujah.
In my personal opinion, when it comes to leaders, I do think there's some good ox out here. I think it's some good ox out here. I think they're few and far between. I think they're a lot fewer and far between than YouTube makes suggest. but even in that, just pray that I'll show you the way. No matter what you're dealing with, who you dealing with. And just always take it to the Abba, as the Coty said, man. We gotta take everything to the Abba. Show me, is this, and he will.
And
I know that like matter of fact, Emo, I feel like that was him answering your prayer. You said you was thinking like you could be doing more. And then he sent you this woman out the blue.
That's right.
That was him showing you like
she's ready.
I already got something set up for you.
That's right.
You said you struggle with your job, but I got you right where I need you to be. And that's the mentality we got to keep in mind. As we pray up out of here, though, because we do got to go. I got to eat. I ain't ate all night. As we do get ready to pray up out of here, it's been an enjoyable time. Hallelujah. It's definitely been an enjoyable time. Always good to see you all. Always a blessing. Always good conversation. We say Toda Rabah Abiyah for putting us exactly where we supposed to be. That's how we gonna start. Hallelujah. We want to do more, Abiyah. I believe that about everybody on this call. We try to do more. We want to learn more. We want to be more focused. But with that being said, we thank you, Abiyah, for putting us exactly where we're supposed to be. Whether the situation is all of that or toxic when it comes to the body and the building of the community of Yah, whether it's a toxic or bad or an amazing situation, we still thank you for putting us where we're supposed to be, because in both situations, it's something to be learned and it's something to be built upon. And we know that as we grow in your Torah, you ain't putting us nowhere. Case in point, what we read tonight. Rivka sent Jacob to Laban's. You knew everything that was about to happen at Laban's, and you still made sure he got there because it was exactly where he was supposed to be. And there was some things he had to go learn. When Ibrahim and Sarah went to Egypt, it was exactly where they were supposed to be. And it was some things he had to go learn. So we thank you for that, Abiyah. And we just pray that you give us, that you allow your Ruach HaKodesh to guide us in all things. Guide Ima's word as she deals with Ruth. We pray that if it be your holy will, that you open up Ruth's heart to discern the things that she says to her, and that you guide Ima's words, that she speaks righteously, speaks to give you all just due and to decline herself. And that she can just, be help sow the seed and be the shepherd that you've called her to be. It doesn't matter if you're man or woman, you call shepherds as you please. Hallelujah. And we know that you are guiding us all. I pray for Coty Lawrence. They've had some deaths in their family. And I pray that you just bring shalom upon her nephew and whoever else may be affected by that. If it be your holy will, and that you continue to guide her words to be a vessel of positive change for you, the light unto the world as you've called us all to be, an ambassador of your word, righteously dividing the word of truth. I pray the same for Hot Johnson as he helps many in the arena that he's working with him in, but I still pray that you guide him in that arena. And even as he's helping couples and marriages to stay strong in this wicked Babylonian lust-filled spiritual war that is America, that even as him and his wife do the work that they do, that when people see them, they don't just see a married couple that made it. They see a married couple that made it because their Elohim is strong. And in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, we pray. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
So let it be. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yes,
Toda
hallelujah.
wa saraki.
Hallelujah.
Ahava.
Hallelujah.
Thank you.
Have a good
Hallelujah.
night.
Hallelujah.
Y'all,
Everybody have a good evening. It was good to see you all.
same here.
You as
Praise
well.
God.